What's up with the hoodie, bro? I see you got a nicely embroidered, work and all that. It's nice and bright. Tell me about that piece real quick.
Let me tell you what I did today. All right, so orange is the color for anti-gun violence. All right, all over the nation. All right, everyone knows that. So today, I decided to wear an orange shirt in honor of anti-gun violence. And also, it's my father's birthday. It's the day I was released. It's the day that the book was released. I decided to represent my father on both sides, on the front and the back. And his name is right here.
That's dope. Can people get those?
They can get these if they would like to order this. Yes, they can get it.
Okay, where'd they go for?
This was
$6. Now, what it cost you?
Oh, okay.
What will you be charging for it?
I would have to work that out. It's not like the book. The book is online at our website, or you could go to our gram. But the shirt, I just did it just specifically for today in honor of anti-gun violence, in honor of his birthday, my release, and the release of the book. I decided to wear it. And like I said, it's both sides. You can't see the back, but I'll make sure you see it before I leave. Let me see if I can turn around.
Nah, you don't have to do that now. We can do that when we.
I got you. I'll make sure you see it.
Yeah.
Because I see you interested in it.
Absolutely. I'm getting one.
I got
I'll be
you.
first on the block. You know how Harlem is.
Yeah, I got
You know
you.
what I'm saying? The prefrontal lobe at the forefront of our brain is where decision making happens, right? At some point, neuroscientists discovered that this area of the brain is where decision making process happens. Arguably, it is the most important component of the brain, but interestingly, it is the last part of the brain that develops. In males, it isn't fully developed until about 21, 22, sometimes 25.
Sometimes 25.
In females, it fully develops at around 19 or so generally, right? Oftentimes when a guy as young as you were gets the kind of sentence that you got, they're either broken mentally and or spiritually, and they end up spending the rest of their lives in the prison med line, or they turn up the violence and wreak havoc throughout the system. How did you do your time?
My time was spent, and I got through it a number of ways. First, it was my family. I had a huge family, okay? Second, I've always been a sports guy, just like my father. I love basketball, love it. So every gym that I could possibly be in, when they call rec, I was in there. I'm going. I'm rocking. While everybody else in the yard, they gossiping, talking about each other, doing what they doing, I'm playing ball, man. I'm getting through this. I had my music. I put my music on. I walked the yard by myself. I read like a maniac. I'm talking about read. Just kept reading. And of course, I'm living in Max A prisons. This is Max A prisons for a number of 25 years. That's an unthought of number for most people to do. Most people don't make it through that without going to that med line that you just spoke of. Not me. I was focused. I wasn't going to let the wall define me. I did my time and grew in there. And naturally, of course, we know it. We know the system. There's going to be some violence. So I got into trouble. She got phone calls. Your son is in the box. A number of times. He's in the box. I done been on the phone one time with her. This is how serious she was. She's younger back then. I done been on the phone with her and told her, yo, listen, I might not talk to you tomorrow because I just got an incident, boom, 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 and I'm about to, boom. And she say, you just got an incident? Yeah. Why the fuck you still in my head then? Go, get busy first.
And deal with them.
Because she don't want me to come home in a box. So her thing was, go, man. I'll see you. I'll be on a visit. So, and when I went to that bitch, it was like this. She came.
Now, think about the opposite guy, the guy who is the guy that we were talking about earlier, where he comes from a background where none of this is part of his makeup, right? None of this is part of his development. Imagine what, under the same circumstances, he's on the phone, he's telling his mother, and what she's saying to him.
Yeah, go talk to the CO. Please go check in now.
And the person he actually is, that makes total sense to him. Yeah, he's what you call out of pocket. Yeah, wait. Ultimately, you ended up doing 30 years before a judge's decision got you released. On January 20th, 2021, United States of America versus Reginald Douglas Jr., a district judge named John D. Bates, he provided what they call a memorandum opinion. And for those who don't know, a brief opinion of a court that announces the result of a case without a lot of discussion. That's what a memorandum, that's what an opinion is. In this instance, goes like this, I'm paraphrasing it. Defendant Reginald Douglas Jr. moves for compassionate release in light of the COVID-19 pandemic and the unusual circumstances of his guilty plea. He asks the court to reduce his sentence to time served, imposing any conditions the court deems necessary for public safety. Douglas is a 50-year-old man currently incarcerated at Raybrook Federal Correctional, a medium security institution. Douglas has served almost 50 months of a 120-month sentence for second-degree murder in connection with the 1990 killing of Anthony Morrissey, imposed in 2012 to run consecutive to a state sentence he was then serving in New York for a different homicide offense. He has been incarcerated continuously for 28 years since January 1993. His current projected release date is in February 2026, and he is projected to become eligible for home detention in August 2025. This is some background on you that was mentioned in this memorandum opinion. This case is marked by an unusual and convoluted history dating back several decades. Many of the tragic outcomes of this case fall squarely on Douglas's shoulders, and the responsibility in the cruel and senseless murder of Mr. Morrissey cannot be overstated. But other circumstances outside of Douglas's control bear mention here as well. Reginald Douglas was born in 1970 in Harlem to a 15-year-old mother and a 16-year-old father, with family ties to the brutally violent trade then endemic to the neighborhood. Talking about drugs, talking about the heroin gang. The thing, as we say.
Mm-hmm. The thing.
When Douglas was just 5 years old, his father was shot and killed. This caused a change in his behavior, which led his mother to take him to a psychiatrist who, quote, revealed that Reginald was suffering from trauma from his father's death, end quote. That's what the psychotherapist or the psychiatrist said. Douglas never received any psychological treatment for his trauma, even though it had been diagnosed that there was trauma based upon that situation. And he soon became involved in the drug trade at just 11 years old. After attending middle school in Virginia Beach for 3 years, Douglas dropped out of school before completing the 7th grade. Eventually, his stepfather brought the teenage Douglas to Washington, D.C. and, quote, exposed him, end quote, to a violent environment in what was then, quote, the murder capital of the nation. In his late teenage years, Douglas was arrested on multiple occasions in the D.C. area and occurred 2 convictions on weapons charges in Maryland, plus an assault conviction in New York prior to the instant offense. This was the conclusion mentioned in the same opinion. The court will grant Douglas's motion for compassionate release. The unsuspended portion of his sentence will be reduced to time served, followed by the 60-month term of probation set forth in the original judgment. As a further condition of probation, Douglas will spend 270 days in home confinement. A separate order will be issued on this date. How did you first receive the news that your release had been granted, and what were your first thoughts?
Okay. The night before, all right, I was sitting in the cell. So in the feds, in Raybrook, they have these doors and it has windows, right? So we can stack our chairs up against the windows and we can look at the TV, or we could just sit there. We can put our music on and The dude that you're in the cell with, if you're in there with somebody, he's chilling, maybe reading, and you by the door in your zone. So I'm listening to music, and I remember the song that came on. It was Still Waters. Still Waters Run Deep, right? By the Four Tops. So, yeah, Still Waters Run Deep, right? And I'm thinking about my family. I'm thinking about my son in Baltimore, Anton. I'm thinking about my grandson, Braylon. I'm just thinking about life in general and what I have waiting for me at home and all the blessings in my life, right? But then I started thinking a little deeper. And, it was something that been bothering me my entire life. It ate at me, because I'm with it, for real, right? But in order to be forgiven, you have to really, really forgive. And it got to be real. It has to be real. So I sat on that door, and I'm listening to my music playing over and over. And, I'm not so much of a crybaby, but certain things pull emotions out of me, right? And I broke down. And I told God, it's over. I forgive him. And I mean it. If I want you to forgive me, God, I got to believe that somebody else is different after 40 years. And I forgave him. I forgave that individual. And incredibly, on my father's birthday, this date, the 20th, 21st, that we sitting here, they knocked on my door and they opened it. I'm laying down, and I remember his name. His name was what was the case manager's name? Weldon. Me and him was half-ass cool. He came to me. He said, "Hey, Doug." He had 2 COs with him. Yeah, he had. I remember his name. Right. His name was Weldon, case manager. And what he said was, he had 2 COs with him. He said, "Douglas, cuff up. We gotta take you to the hole." I said, "Nah. I'm not going to no hole during no COVID. So let's get to it, man." He said, "What?" He's shaking the cuffs, making the cuffs make the sound over and over. "Douglas, we have to take you to the hole." I said, "I'm going to tell you again. I'm not going to no hole during no COVID." I said,
What was the significance? Because the hole ain't no place to be under no circumstance.
Exactly.
But what was the significance of COVID in that instance?
Oh, because we already locked down. So we only get 2 hours out. We only get an hour out to use the computer and an hour to shower. So if I go to the hole, I'm getting 30 minutes. And I might be in there with somebody. And I'm not doing that. But it was a joke. He was joking. And he said, I looked at him. He said, "Nah, Douglas, that ain't what I'm here for." I said, "What you here for, Weldon?" He said, "I got a call 5 minutes ago, man. Take whatever you're going to take with you. And come on. You got to be out this building by 4 o'clock. You're going home." I screamed. And everybody in the unit that seen me going to Law Library every day, right? They see me going every day. I went every day to Law Library, man. They called me an old bug out. Yeah, that old timer. He be lunching. The DC dudes, he be lunching.
Mm-hmm.
New York dudes, he's a bug out, right? When I walked out that cell, remember, everybody's locked in because of COVID. They banged on the doors like it was a movie, and they screamed my name. And I crumbled on the steps. I couldn't even make it to the office to call my mother. And I finally got up. They let my man Calvin come over. Calvin is my man from DC. They call him Calico. They let him come over from the other unit because I was stuck. They told him, the COs knew who I be with. They went and got my man Calvin and said, "Go get him, man." Calvin came to the steps and said, "Come on, Slim." I said, "What?" He said, "Man, it's over with. We did it." He said, "I'm going to walk you, man. I'm going to walk you to the back." And I got back there, and I had a few phone calls to make. And I called my mother, but she didn't pick up. It was Reggie. And Reggie said, "What?" I said, "Come and get me, man. Come get me. This is over with." He said, what? I said, it's over with, man. Come get me. And he screamed. And my mother don't know what's going on. I'm going to let her tell you. She going to tell you how it was when she heard it, right? But she crumbled. She crumbled. She didn't know what was going on. But let her tell you the rest. Let her tell you how it was when she got that call.
Yeah. So I heard Red Jack scream. I said, oh my God, what is it? Because I didn't know what it was. Was it one of my other children? What was it? He said, lady, get yourself together. Reginald was coming home. My knees buckled. I was in the living room. I hit my knees. I kissed the floor. And I thank God. I thanked him so much. I said, thank you so much for letting my son come home and let me be here because I was concerned about being here. I used to cry about living long enough for him to get home because I knew on the come home, he needed me. And I just wanted to do that. You know, I didn't even give a damn if I got him out of there and I dropped dead that night. I would have been good, man, because I did what I had to do as a parent of a child that had did 30 years. I had did it, and I was satisfied. I was so satisfied. And the lawyer told me, she said, you got to 4 o'clock. You should have seen us. His brothers beat me to the prison. And they was way deep in Jersey. And I was right there. I could have, Reginald was really far. But we made it. All I grabbed was a sweater for him. It was freezing cold that day. All I grabbed was a sweater. When my son came out, his brother, Chauncey, got to the prison before me. I said, just put him in the car. And they brought him down Brown and Thee. And I see him in the back seat. I said, just go to the gas station. When we got to that gas station, oh, my heart, yo. Every mother that felt this, it's a beautiful thing. You know, and you feel sorry for all the other mothers that lost their children through all the shit that maybe your kid might have done. But this was my moment. This was my fucking moment. Y'all got that shit? I deserved it. I deserved the moment. I did a lot of time with this boy. I did a lot of bit. And I didn't just do it with him. I had to do it with Red. I had to do it with my son Dwayne. I had to do it with my son Corey. Everybody went to jail except Chauncey. Chauncey was the only one that stayed out. So he was always there for me. But it take a lot to deal with all of that and come out like this. I'm at peace, man. I'm at peace. There's nothing right now can damage my heart. I'm at peace, man. All my children is home and my husband is home. I'm at fucking peace. And I hope that whoever get this in life. This is a beautiful thing. You have to remember that. I was a child trying to be a woman. I was a kid trying to be a woman. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was a child. I was a child trying to be a woman. But one thing I will say, I give everybody their props, each man in my life. Cisco taught me that all you have to do in life is be honorable, be honest, be honest. Flat Top taught me how to survive because he taught me how to survive. He taught me how to survive. After Cisco died, he taught me how to survive in life. And when Red Jack came along, I was able to grab onto him. He held my hand and I held his hand and we made it. And here we is, 40 fucking 2 years later. And I'm at peace, man. I'm at peace. Believe that, man. I'm at peace. I hope everybody in the world, when they get their chance and their child come home, they be at peace. Even the ones that I dislike. Even that family. You understand? I'm all right. I'm happy for everybody that came home. I wish them well. You know? I wish them well, man. Yeah, I wish them well. That's it.
First of all, blessings to you both. So, I had the opportunity. I'm one of a small group of people, and I'm thankful for this honor, to have seen a Zoom that is in our world an historical event. It's a Zoom that Reggie miraculously orchestrated some time ago, and that Zoom had your husband,
Right.
Red Jack,
Mhm.
my former running buddy, homie, teammate, Pistol Pete's father, the original Pistol Pete,
Yeah.
Leonard, on there. Cousin Ferris was on there. Lynch Mob. Shout out to Lou Sims. See you
No
soon
question. Shout out to
on
you
the set.
and Ferris.
Absolutely. Who else is on there? Jesse Gray
Jesse Gray was
on there. Arguably or inarguably,
his own.
one of the most prolific hustlers to ever do it. Mount Rushmore of the game.
Yes. Respectful, beautiful, a beautiful man.
Your best friend Chucky.
Yeah.
Blesses that he was able to be there. And Chucky emerged. I don't know how deep he was in the thing, but he didn't go to jail at any point. Who else was on that call? That Zoom?
His aunt, Virginia. His aunt.
And the other gentleman, dark complected, bald head.
Can't think of it. So many people.
The close up.
Uncle G.
Uncle G.
Yeah, Uncle G.
Right.
Yes.
Uncle G Stacks. That's what he calls himself.
Right. So this prolific event, so much was said. And one of the things I recall, which is why I'm bringing this up, is how Red Jack described that call. And how this man who's known as a man amongst men, those who know Red Jack, very respected, always has been. Red Jack said proudly amongst actual gangsters, I cried like a baby.
He did.
I cried like a baby
He screamed.
when my son called and said, come get me.
He cried. He definitely cried. That's why I was scared. I thought it was something else. I didn't know Reginald was coming home. But then when I fell down on that ground, I said, what's today's date? And he said, it's January 21st. I said, God damn it, that's his fucking father's birthday. He coming home on his father's birthday. I could not believe it. And when you look up 21, 21 is a day of luck. And it's quasi kept. It's been in our life a lot. Cisco got killed on 21. Even though he got killed, it wasn't just a downfall. It was our gates. It was opening us up. We lost him, yes, we lost him. But that was time for my life to move on. His life, even though it went right, it went left, it wasn't the greatest. But guess what? We sitting here talking to you right now. We sitting here.
Reggie, once you were released, what was the first thing that you did?
Okay, I got in the car. We drove to Harlem, but I needed to see my dad's gravesite. My mother said, you need to talk to him. And there's a picture taken of me at that gravesite when I was home because I went with my aunt, Virginia, and my cousin Nene, who I call my sister. And they took me there. And I just got on my knees and I thanked them and I thanked them and I thanked them and I thanked them. And I talked to them. I told them about my life. I told them how I changed it. I told them what I'm going to do. And let me just say this, man. And it's not that it took me a while to say it during the interview. It's just we've been talking about everything else. What we haven't got to is how I got home. My aunt, Virginia, is the reason why I sit here right now.
How so?
Virginia is part of something called the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls. They have lawyers on their team. They have a team that sits on the White House. They argue against injustice, and sometimes they pick names out of a hat and they say, well, this month we're going to do this for this person that's locked up. My name was always coming up. Always coming up. So they asked Virginia, you're always talking about your nephew, Reggie. Ask him what's going on with his case. She asked me, and she said, send me what you got. I sent me a template. I had just wrote a template, a motion, a good one. And I sent it to her, and they gave it to a lawyer by the name of Catherine Sevchenko. White lady, super cool. I don't know that she's out of D.C. She practices in D.C. Look how this all fell in place. I don't know that she practices in D.C. I'm thinking she's just a lawyer that's down at the National Council. They're in Jersey, they're in Boston, they're in New York. I called Virginia, she said, the lady, she looked at your case and she loves it. She said, she's going to work with you. I said, how? Even though she's a federal lawyer, where does she practice at? They contacted her, told her what my case was at. She was a D.C. lawyer, man. Can you believe that? This lady she could have been everything. New Orleans, California. She was a D.C. lawyer. She said, I could walk your motion right into the judge. And she fought with me. That lady fought with me. My aunt, my family, my son's mother got letters written by doctors. I mean, everybody was on a tear. My mother and them, they wrote 100. I had 100 letters written to that judge, man. 100. There's more than 100 letters written to that judge, from doctors, from specialists, from everywhere. And they fought for me every day. Virginia, Catherine, my mother, my son's mother, my family, my aunts, my cousins, everybody fought. The judge said no the first time. He said no. He denied the motion.
Yep.
He denied it. But it wasn't denial. It was simply, I was coming home on that date.
You was coming home. He was coming home on the 21st. It was pushed back for the 21st.
Exactly.
Everything in life that you go through, it's the number game. If you think back on when you lost your mom, when you lost your cousin, when you lost this one, when you lost that one, just pay attention to the numbers, and it's all gonna round out. Y'all understand? That's what life is. It's a math. It's a number game. If you take the time and pay attention to the numbers and the date that you was born and the time, it's all coming around in a circle. It's like a clock. That's it. That's what life is. That's it.
Let me tell y'all something. Today, right? Today, this date right here, I wrote a letter motion to get off of parole. Do you know, ironically, listen to this, man. The date that the judge set for this argument to be made is today.
That's bizarre.
It's today.
Today, the same day that he made the decision before. The day that's connected to this, the 21st.
Because the dates.
It's going to happen.
It's the dates.
I'm going to wake up Monday and I'm off parole. I'm telling you that. It's over with. I'm probably off right now. I don't even know it.
I want to thank my guests for giving so much of themselves. It's not easy. It's not easy to lay yourself bare before people, most of whom will not be able to relate to your experiences. But because you've been so articulate and so forthright, even if they cannot relate to the experiences, they can relate to the human experience, the human emotion. They've all experienced fear and elation and anger and disappointment and whatever the catalyst in their lives were. They understand those feelings. And because you've been expressive about those feelings from your experiences, that helps them to connect to the experience and what it must have felt like. That brings forth empathy. That's a tremendous gift. It comes at a cost to the giver, but the value on the receiver's end is immeasurable. So I thank you for them, for me.
Thank you.
You're welcome, brother.
Thank you. So this has been a Vlad TV, historical event, and I thank everyone who's watching. We're done.
And, that's it. They can get part 2 will be available this year, coming soon. This can be ordered. God Bless the Child Part 1, the beginning, can be ordered at our website, www.theciskokid116.com. And it comes with a sneak peek into Part 2. Thank you so much for having us. And let's stay in touch, brother. Let's keep changing lives.
Oh, absolutely.
He's
connected
cousin. He's
forever.
your cousin.
Forever. Till the casket drops. And obviously, even beyond that,